Hello everyone, I'm Alan, also known as McLaren 2009, and today I'm back playing Derail Valley. Now I don't really know what I'm planning on working on with this particular one, but I'm thinking that when I looked at everything last night, the ones that seemed the most interesting were these cryo-oxygen jobs going up to the machine factory. Alright, that might be it. Yeah. Alright, yeah. Cryo-oxygen, cryo-oxygen. So not a particularly heavy job, but it's still something. About 300 tons, 264 tons. Alright, not bad. And we already know where both of them are. E2 and E3. Alright, so it's kind of a negligible difference, but we'll put the bigger one up front. Alright, let's run over and grab our locomotives real quick. Now, I found out yesterday that you actually can fit 2 DE6s in the roundhouse without any problems. So that basically revolutionizes how I can play the game. I no longer have to break apart my locomotives when I'm done working with them. So, since we're running up to the machine factory, we'll have to find out if the roundhouse up there is the same size as the roundhouse here. It might be, but we'll have to wait and see. Alright, so let's get these set up. Turn on the lights, even though it doesn't really do a whole lot. Turn on the breakers. Let's go back here. Turn this on. Now, realistically, this probably won't or these jobs won't require both locomotives, but it's best to just play it safe, especially since getting out of here is a little bit hard. Alright, so run back here, turn this on. Alright, now what I've found is that the best thing to do is to pair my remote with this locomotive. So that it's closer to the back of the train. Now this is going to be a much shorter consist, so it's not going to be too bad. Alright, but let's get started. Alright, going a little fast, but you can go 20 across that, so it's not the end of the world. No, not that. This thing. Okay, nothing going on in chat. Alright, now the good news is we're pretty much already lined up all the way back to the E track, because that's where we dumped off the last load we had yesterday. Now, this could potentially be a little bit weird since I'm trying streaming on multiple platforms simultaneously. So this could get weird. And it'll really be interesting because while I haven't gotten many viewers, I've actually started getting viewers. So it could be interesting. Oh, and I'll have to put this away so I can get a thumbnail shot. Especially since I found out I can easily do it, all I gotta do is make sure that the game is active before I hit the screenshot button. It's kind of a weird thing, but it does work. Although really I should be over here in the E yard getting hooked up to both of those cuts of cars. And since this one has 9 cars instead of 8, that's going to be the front one. So E2, E3. And coincidentally, we're already lined up with it. And since I finally got around to asking my question on the Discord server about the weird bumps in the track, it turns out that I am absolutely not the only person that's experienced it. It is a well-known issue, and I got a response back saying that yes, that absolutely is getting fixed in Simulator. Although apparently it's not necessarily in like arbitrary parts of the track. Apparently it's more accurately a problem with just the switch tracks. So apparently this is the part that's slowing you down, and not like that stretch of track in between here and here. It's more so like getting off of the switch. So the good news is I'm not crazy. I've been noticing some problems that everybody else is dealing with too. But since I've kind of just been sort of playing it on faith, I never bothered to ask if that was something that was being addressed with the simulator update. And yesterday I finally decided, you know what? I'm just gonna ask. Let's see. Oh yeah. It's the same on both ends. 3 headlights and 1 marker light. So that's pretty cool. Let's get slowed down a little bit. Because 5 kilometers an hour is still a pretty good coupling speed, it seems. It was like the weirdest thing. At one point, I could never find where the shop was at the harbor. Like, it's on the map that there's a shop here. So I would like walk around all over that area. And I just couldn't find it. Then I saw that building, and then I was like, oh, that's probably the shop. No, it's not. It turns out the shop is right over there, across from the passenger terminal. Which, realistically, that is a good place for it. And clearly I didn't look that hard for it. But I just casually walked over, or I think I teleported and threw myself over that fence over there. And then it's like, oh, here's the shop. Yeah, see? Right there. So if you randomly decide, hey, I want to use Steam today, you can get a shovel and a lighter in there. And there was at least a couple of days where I was trying to figure out how to use the steam locomotive. It's not hard, it's just more involved. So you would think that would be like right up my alley and like the perfect thing for me to work on. But nah. It's a little too crazy even for me. Alright, so tighten that down, opened up the air valves. Now let's run to the back and make sure our air is tied in. There it is. Alright, good to go. Alright, now the next up is this one right here. Also cryo-oxygen. So basically, both of these are not flammable, but they're explosive. If you add oxygen to something that's already burning, you get a disaster. But we gotta be up here, specifically on this side, because we gotta get past this switch right here so that we can back into it. Now, being about 270 tons each, this is going to be a relatively light load and not really worth the effort of hooking up two DE6s, but since I found out I can easily back them into the roundhouse and service them both simultaneously, it would be more of a hassle to unplug one of them and back it up into a different slot. So instead, we're just going to use the two locomotives, even though it's a little bit more expensive to run them. The advantage is both of them combined are a lot better at going up hills, so we don't have to rev the engine as high, and we're not going to burn as much diesel individually. So even though the load is relatively light in the grand scheme of things, it's still a decent-sized load to take up that hill. Alright, let's check on that real quick. But I'm curious to see if this is going to work out, because it will save some effort if I can, instead of having to connect it to, or instead of having to take the video and put it from Twitch to YouTube, if it's already on both, that takes like an hour out of the transition process to get it from one platform to the other platform. So it kind of streamlines it a little bit. All right. And it's kind of funny with these specific types of containers, these intermodal liquid tanks. These things are crazy because intermodal shipping containers are already heavier than regular, like, dry cargo containers. And then these, they're almost always the shorter ones like this, like the ocean container size. And they are just as heavy, if not heavier, than the big 53-foot intermodal containers. They are insanely heavy. In fact, aside from empty ones, I don't think I have personally ever seen one of these containers that didn't have one of the yellow triangles that says super heavy on it. And there are yards just filled with these things. It is crazy. All right. C4 and C3. Alright, so basically we're going to drop off one, then the other. We're going to pull forward into the C lot, drop off the back 8 cars. Did I do it backwards? Yeah, I did. Alright, whatever. Because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Huh? No, I got it right. I put the wrong one in the slot. Alright, now that's fixed. But yeah, I'd noticed earlier in pretty much this exact spot that I thought it was that area that was slowing me down, but no, it's more accurately one of these switches. And definitely do not love tap those cars at 5 kilometers or 7 kilometers an hour. Because when I found out that 7 was too fast for coupling, that was with an empty car, and I did like 9% damage to it. Well, these are not empty flat cars. These are loaded with kind of a bomb. Sort of. Alright, we gotta speed it up a little bit. So yeah, the whole time I thought the problem was the track between the switches, But no, apparently the problem is actually the switches themselves. So I misdiagnosed it, but I'm not a developer, not a programmer. Basically, I don't have the slightest idea what I'm talking about. And this particular game is not even in my current field. Like, I'm trying to get into this as a field, but I'm not there yet. Alright. So, let's go to the back and let out some air. I like the idea that they're actively considering, when they bring in the little portable lantern, that they're actually considering making a red one that you might be able to hang from the hook on the last car as kind of like an end of train device sort of thing. Or at least an end of train marker. So I think that's pretty cool. Alright, now we gotta go over here once again. Let's teleport a little bit. And we gotta get to... nope, it's this one. This is the switch that aligns you back with the main. Alright. I feel like I want this back aligned that way. But it's kind of just... Huh? Oh, I'm stupid. Basically, I tried flipping the switch, but we weren't clear from the switch yet. So it automatically switched it back to this way. In actuality, if the game wasn't so forgiving, that would probably have derailed a car. In fact, it might be a good idea to double check to make sure that it hasn't done that. Okay. Okay, all's right in the world. Apparently. We dodged a bullet of our own making. Okay. Alright, now we get this one past this switch right here, and then we'll be back lined up with E6, which should be the main track. Alright, so now we can come in the back way, or we can pull all the way through to there if we need to go past to back into the C track. So let's kill that and let's get up into the cab. I could bring my caboose to make my life easier, but Alright, let's grab this, drop it down there. Throw this on the floor. Hit the horn. And let's speed up. Basically, it wouldn't take long to summon the caboose and drop it at the back, but I'm just not going to deal with it right now. Actually, let's take a quick moment right here. And if you look at this, flat car is... Oh boy. Something crashed. I just don't have any sound. But yeah, you look at one of the cars, the container, just one of them weighs as much as the car. Let me try to figure out what's going on with the audio. Why did it just die for me?